Mountain, island, lightning bolt, spell pierce, switchblade, stab wound, red mage, blue mage.
Do you want me to start this time?
Yeah, go for it.
I like how I offer it and then immediately regret it.
Immediate regret.
Hi, I'm Amber. That's how I've started. No, you start it. No, I'll start it. I don't know, Kenny. I just hate doing voices. I hate being like professional, like
putting it on.
Like, hey, I'm Amber and I play red. Like,
you should start. Just do it that way. Put on a voice.
There you go. Hi, I'm Amber. You should see how my head's moving right now.
And what color of magic do you play, Amber?
Red.
That's amazing.
Gosh.
I'm Kenny, and I play blue magic.
Oh my god. It's red
you
mage,
know what?
blue mage.
It's red mage, blue mage.
I hate this so much. I don't want this to be the intro, unless you absolutely love it. But...
Huh. All right, let's continue on with the episode.
No. Fine.
This is. I feel empowered by the fact that I'm the editor.
Yeah, you should.
I think I'm going to follow up that intro with you saying that blue is great.
That's fine. You can be like, "Hey, remember last time?" And then just like, "Blue is great. Blue is great. Blue is great."
For 3 consecutive minutes.
Yes, exactly. Anyway, hello. Are you ready?
This is red mage, blue mage. And hey,
you know what's really hard is when you're trying to like do a podcast together and you can't see the other person to give you visual cues of like when we're going to talk.
I'm ready to start. So,
yeah, hello.
So let's get into it today. Last week, I got to pick a card. This week, it's your turn to pick a card. You son of a bitch. Pick a card.
Son of a bitch.
You son of a bitch.
Yep. So I was thinking about it, and one of the things that I really like, obviously, and everybody seems to really like, is the art of the cards, right? And
Definitely.
So I wanted to know what your favorite card is based on the art.
Based on the art.
So,
yeah.
and I think it's more than just based on the art. Like, it just has to, the art has to, like, spark interest for you and, like, ooh, this is really good. But I don't think I wanted you to pick something that also wasn't, like, I like it mechanically. Like, you have to like it mechanically as well.
Yeah,
Does that
totally.
make sense? Okay.
Absolutely. Because there's all kinds, like, I was looking, there's so much beautiful art in Magic the Gathering, but so much of it is attached to cards that I don't care about or I don't care to play.
Exactly. And so I want to know also, like, do you have a favorite artist for Magic the Gathering?
That's the sad thing, is like, when you asked that, I immediately had an artist pop into my mind as my favorite artist. And even though I like some of the cards that this artist has illustrated on, none of them leapt to my mind as like, wow, this card is insane and I love it so much. I love Nils Ham.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
As an artist. And I think you and I are kind of both on the same page, because we talked about this a little bit beforehand. I really like Magic artists where you can imagine seeing this piece of art and it's not just like an illustration for a game. Like, this could just be a piece of art by itself.
Right. Like, I want to hang this up in my house.
Totally. Which, I mean, granted, I would hang up just normal illustration Magic the Gathering stuff in my house as well. But that's because I like Magic that much.
Yeah.
Whereas you can imagine like a Nils Ham painting just hanging up in a gallery.
Sure.
Because it's so ethereal and weird.
But not even just like like not your nerd specific, like a sci-fi, like this is a gallery opening.
No.
But like you go to an actual, because these are really good artists.
Yeah,
amazing artists.
Yeah, and I'm not putting down any other Magic the Gathering artists. Like, I think art that you can find, like, I talked about Enormous Baloth last week, and that art is really funny to look at, but I liked the art on it when I first got into it. Mm-hmm. It was cool to me. It drew me into the game, you know? But there are like next level artists, and Nils Ham falls in that category.
Yeah.
Where he typically gets very dark kind of concepts to work with.
Mm-hmm.
He did a ton of illustrations for Innistrad, which was the gothic horror themed set, and that really captures his art style.
Right.
He tends to like let backgrounds kind of blend away. The card that I was thinking about for Niels Ham that almost made it onto my list, and you can look it up now if you want to, is Dungeon Geists.
Dungeon Geist? Because like for me, the one that automatically comes to my mind when I think of Niels Ham is Baleful Strix.
Yep.
So this one's called Dungeon Geist. Well, that's creepy.
Yes, it is. So the art depicts 3 weird spectral ghosts, and they're nothing more than like tattered, dust-colored robes draped over invisible forms, and they are dragging what looks like a mummy. It's just a human who's been completely bound in, again, dust-colored cloths being dragged down stairs. And the impressive thing to me about it is that it is creepy, but it's so desaturated. There's like no background to it at all. It was kind of flat.
And what's also interesting to me too is like if you take away, so it's an actual creature card, right?
Yes.
It's a creature, spirit, flying.
We should describe it, yeah.
Yeah. It costs 2 colorless and 2 blue. When Dungeon Geist enters the battlefield, tap target creature and opponent controls. Okay, I see why. That creature doesn't untap during its controller's untap step for as long as you control Dungeon Geist. So
right.
Okay. But like if I
So the idea is that the Dungeon Geists are taking this creature to the dungeon.
Right. And what's interesting to me is usually when you look at a piece of artwork for Magic card, you can usually attribute a color to it right away. And you know when an artifact's an artifact, and you know when it's a black card. And this one, if you took away the blue border, like you're right, it's like so desaturated, it's just dusty looking.
Yeah. I think I would look at that, and if I didn't know the color, I'd be like, black card, I think.
Yeah.
Because it's so grim.
And because it has like a goldenish hue, which I sometimes attribute to the black cards as well. And mostly brown.
That's something really fun that I like about Magic cards is when the art of the card like strays away from the color that it's associated with. Because the colors are philosophical, right? It's not like blue cards have to be bluish in hue. It's just that's typically how it goes. It's really fun when you see a red card that is like lightning based, but it's very blue. It's blue lightning that you're seeing.
Yeah. Was Dungeon Geist the card you chose?
No, this was one that was up for it. And you already brought up another one, which was Baleful Strix. And that one gets even closer to my heart as far as like I love casting Baleful Strix. Like as a control player, so for those that don't know, it's 1 blue, 1 black for a 1/1 flying death touch creature that cantrips when it comes into the battlefield. You draw a card when it comes into play. And nothing feels better than as a control mage playing a 1/1 flying death touch that will prevent your opponent from attacking anywhere on the ground, in the sky, and it gives you a card back immediately. Like it just feels so good.
It's super pretty.
I considered that one, but if you look at the art on that, if you just look up the art, the way that the owl is looking at the camera, at the viewer, is just so ridiculous.
So wide-eyed.
So startled. I couldn't do it. It's like I can't say this is my favorite art on a Magic card. And it was so close to making it though.
What would you want his eyes to look like? It's an owl.
No, I'm saying it's good. It's very good. But it's just also, for my personal taste, it just doesn't have the full package.
You just don't want somebody to... So do you want its eyes to be closed? Like if its eyes were closed, you would have been okay with it?
Maybe it would be cool if it like had the...
Sunglasses?
The thing no, I mean, that'd be awesome, obviously. No, I was thinking like a lot of Phyrexian creatures in Magic the Gathering have like almost like metal helmets over their heads that cover their eyes.
Uh-huh.
And that's just a creepy thing. That's why a lot of horror creatures don't have eyes, is because it taps into something in humanity where we read people by looking at their eyes. And so if you can't see their eyes, it's creepier. Yeah. Maybe if it did that, I would be on board.
Or like some sort of like aura eyes where it's like something with glowing lights or something.
Yeah, totally. Or like Chris Straub has a comic called Brood Hollow. It's a horror strip. And his eldritch creatures have like... star points where their eyes should be, the spiky star lines that you see in astronomy photos. I think that would be cool too. But like, yeah, the eyes tipped it. I'm sorry, Niels Ham. You're a great artist. You didn't have a single card that put it all together, but that's not on you. That's on the designers.
The directors, yeah.
Yes. So the card that I actually picked as my favorite card, like art and aesthetic wise, is a card called Master Transmuter. So Master Transmuter is 3 and a blue for an artifact creature, a human artificer. It's a 1/2, and it has blue tap. Return an artifact you control to its owner's hand. You may put an artifact card from your hand onto the battlefield. So it transmutes artifacts into other artifacts. Mm-hmm. And for people who play Cube, people who've played the game for a long time, this ability is very reminiscent of Tinker, which lets you sacrifice an artifact and get a different artifact from your library and put it into play. This lets you cheat in giant artifacts. I love artifacts in Magic the Gathering. Mm-hmm. Like magical relics are really cool and they really speak to me. And this one has an ability that it makes total sense for what the creature is. Master Transmuter, it transmutes artifacts. The art shows what the card does. There's a female figure who is like transmuting 2 orbs between each other. And the figure itself is definitely the most striking thing. It is this pale, white blonde woman, and her torso and the rest of her body from the torso down is this filigree of dark black metal that is twisting together. And this comes from Shards of Alara. And this plane, or the shard of a plane, is called Esper, and it's all about precision and artifice. And you can see in the background a cloud that is being bisected along the line of the card. This plane is obsessed with symmetry, and it's obsessed with order and artifice and perfection. And I think this card captures that in a really cool way. I really like the central figure of the art. What do you think of this art? Because I eventually picked this as my favorite card, art aesthetics wise, but I didn't know what you would think of it.
It's very clean looking. It definitely feels exactly what you're like. It does convey that like symmetry and this precision or feel to it. I think it's cool. Like, I'm not going to get really thoughtful until it sounds like you did a lot more thought than what I did for mine.
That's fine.
But like, yeah, it's really pretty. You can tell right away the feel, and like you said, it really does convey what the card does.
Yeah, which I really like. And also, I don't know, it does a cool thing to me where it's combining like the sterility of the card. Like you say, it feels very clean. It has this smooth white stone background. It has the clouds being bisected, so it feels very like methodical, very careful. But at the same time, clearly her body is being corrupted by this metal. You know what I mean?
Well, it doesn't. Would you call it corruption?
Well, that's the interesting thing, because for this plane, they believe in perfecting the body through artifice. So they see it as perfecting.
Well, because like as I'm looking at it, it doesn't look like corruption. It looks very intentional. And so to me, when I think corruption or like decay or like that, it wouldn't have a sense of order to it or metal. Like it just feels very like intentional. So I wouldn't read that as corruption. It looks more like this is what was supposed to happen, especially because like she doesn't look like her like expression is more tranquil than anything. So it's like she's in pain or anything. So it's because when you think about corruption or whatever, you would think, more pained potentially.
No, that's a really good read on it, and it matches what the story is wanting too. To me, it's like the Esper are like the Borg from Star Trek. You know what I mean? Like they're trying to perfect their bodies, but other races that would encounter them would be like, this is unnatural. This is not good. You're stripping your humanity away. Cool. So I like these things coming into conflict in this card.
Cool.
Can I give an honorable mention?
Yes.
So this, I have not even mentioned. The artist is Chippy, who is one of my favorite artists in Magic, not surprisingly. Mm-hmm. And another card that was illustrated by Chippy. It was funny. I was basically thinking of card art that I like a lot, and I realized that several of them were from Chippy, were from the same artist. So another card that was up on my list of favorite card like aesthetics, all told, including the art, is Lotus Cobra. And I think you'll like the art on this. One of the things I like about the art on Lotus Cobra is it's kind of what we touched on before, where it's kind of diverging from its color. Green is obviously a very strong color here.
Yeah.
But I love the pale pink and yellow of the lotus blooms, and also the cobra itself. I love the way it's coiled around that branch, the cobra itself, I can just feel the weight of it, like how thickly coiled it is around it. I think it's so good. And this card was powerful. It's 1 and a green for a 2/1 that whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you get 1 mana of any color. And this occurred in a set with fetch lands. So lands that you could sacrifice to get other lands. So you could get multiple mana off of this creature every turn.
Oh, wow.
So it was very powerful, and it feels powerful. It invokes the Lotus, which is obviously hailing back to the Black Lotus. So it was just like power and form and function, and it was cool to me that something so powerful could be like, it's just so pretty to me. I think I just like symmetry in circles because this shares that in common with does. Master Transmuter. I was going to say
there's also the moon, the moon right in the middle. Yeah,
I like symmetry in circles. I don't know what to say.
It's fine.
But those were my choices. The ultimate winner though was Master Transmuter.
Gotcha. Oh man,
how about you?
Me making decisions is
you put this prompt forward, and immediately I thought, wow, you've given yourself a really hard homework assignment.
Yeah,
Amber.
and I kind of didn't do a great job doing it either because
I want to hear your thoughts.
So it's really hard for me to. I like a lot of the artists. So Niels Hom is one of those that I'm like, I love his artwork. But my favorite, I have 3 like favorite Magic the Gathering artists, and they are there's no real order. They're all basically, I love them the same.
I love all my children equally.
Yes, exactly. I love Seb McKinnon, who, funnily enough, is like has listed Niels Hom as one of his like inspirations.
Right.
Rebecca Guay, and also Omar Rayan. And I think the reason why I love all 3 of them is they do like folk tale fairy art, like all that feels very fairy, really like light fantasy, or to me at least. I think of other artists like what
was the name of one? Omar something?
Omar Rayan, OMARRAYYAN.
That's the only one you said that I was like, I don't know that I
really?
immediately associate this with someone. Oh, wow. I definitely know this. I know that style very well.
He's very distinct in the Magic the Gathering card sets.
Oh, and he was like exclusively Lorwyn block.
Yes,
no wonder you like him.
And it's because it's Lorwyn's fairies and all that stuff. And I really, what's really love funny? Lorwyn. What's funny?
I think Lorwyn was like the perfect set for you to start playing in.
Really, really was, I think, as well.
I've been wanting to get you to watch a YouTube video with Aaron Forsyth of WotC fame, and he gave a talk on the Magic the Gathering cruise, and it was called Between the Ravnicas or something like that, where he basically went from the first Ravnica set to the second Ravnica set, Return to Ravnica, and that whole period he went block by block and said, here's what Magic the Gathering did right, here's what we did wrong, here's how the game has changed over time. And of course he covered Lorwyn in that set, and Lorwyn did not do very good for them, unfortunately. But basically the way, like he said, the problem it had is that their demographic, which is mostly, young men, didn't like this set where the most evil thing you could run into is a goblin pie stealer.
And I love that kind of stuff.
And meanwhile, that is like your D&D character.
That's exactly my D&D character, or my Blades in the Dark character, yes. So I had like conflicting thinking through all this. It's like, there's nostalgia for me. I like a certain style of art, like Rebecca Guay's kind of is more graphic, stylized, and Seb McKinnon's is kind of similar to Niels Hom, very like
kind of abstract.
Dark, it's like dark fantasy. So some of the artists I was trying to think of that were not in Magic the Gathering is like I think about Charles Vess, who does lots of illustrations for like fairy tale stories, and it has a very delicate feel to it. And I really like that. I also like art that makes me think more. There's more to it than just like, oh, that's a pretty figure or that's a pretty thing. There's kind of like you look at it long enough and you start to go, why is this here? What is this person's backstory? yada yada yada. So
Yeah.
Eventually nostalgia won out, but I'll tell you the two that I picked as like my like contemplating. The first one is Oromancer. That's a Rebecca Guay card.
And Rebecca Guay's been drawing for Magic the Gathering
for a long time.
Forever. Yeah.
So and we picked cards that were kind of I allowed us to pick outside of our usual color.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
for pick a card, unless like we specifically say from this color, you can go from anywhere.
Yeah, sure. So Oromancer is a white card. It's 2 colors, 1 white creature, human wizard, 2/2. When Oromancer enters the battlefield, you may return target enchantment card from your graveyard to your hand. So in my like history of Magic, like I started to realize and appreciate things like artifacts and enchantments. And so when I started building, like branching out from just mono red and doing red black or red white, and then like learning about planeswalkers and all that stuff, I started to lean more into white and trying to do enchantments, things that last on the board. It's like, oh, if I can have something that stays on the board and does something, this is good. And so I really liked this because, again, dealing with blue, it's like if they remove my enchantment, I can get this the enchantment back into my hand.
Totally.
But the art is this, it's diagonal. The movement in this picture is diagonal movement going from bottom left to upper right. And it's this woman in a blue dress, blue veil, long brown hair. And she's got her hand behind her, or one hand behind her that's obviously starting to cast thing. But I really like the watercolor work in here. And it's very pretty. And if you took away the white border, you would think it's a blue card. Some sort of counter spell or some sort of whatever, but it's a white card. But I love the flow of it. I love the lines. It's really pretty, and it's very feminine and light
and soft
and things that I tend to gravitate towards.
Yeah, and I think her art style in general, to me, it just puts me immediately in the mindset of like a stained glass. You know what I mean?
Yes, it's very pretty.
It's very pretty. It feels very precise.
But
soft,
like it's segmented. Like the colors are kind of segmented. There's definitely like a hard contrast between these like pillars of, because there's not a really defined background. You just really have this distinct figure, and there's sort of maybe rocks jutting up behind her. You don't really know what they are, but there's definitely a high contrast between the edge of that rock and like the light blue background, the light wash. And it's segmented that looks stained glass like,
It's interesting. I think it's kind of interesting hearing both of our answers and how, we both kind of like abstraction to some degree.
Yes.
In our art, in our favorite art. And it's not even that I want, like, if every card looked like this, I don't know that I would like it as much. But because this is kind of an exception, it's more meaningful. It's more impactful. We like abstraction, and we like when the background kind of disappears.
Yes. So speaking of my second pick, I don't think this is actual like printed card. I didn't find it, but it's Seb McKinnon's new art for Chalice of the Void, which is I think it's an online promo card. And so Chalice of the Void is basically 2x colorless artifact. Have you seen this?
I have.
Okay.
I'm ohoing because one of your favorite cards involves countering spells.
Well, again, like I said, in the arc of my learning how to play things, it's like I have to also be prepared for other play styles. And so how do you prepare for that? And it's also funny because it's definitely one that makes you think more.
Definitely.
Because it's one of those. So let me read the text. So Chalice of the Void, which I know is an old card. Chalice of the Void enters the battlefield with X charge counters on it, which is X whatever you paid. Whenever
XX. So you have to pay double that amount.
Yes. Whenever a player casts a spell with converted mana cost equal to the number of charge counters on Chalice of the Void, counter that spell.
So it just turns off a number. You can't cast spells with this number of converted mana cost.
Right. And so this is so funny because it goes against Amber's typical like aggressive play style and gets into what I enjoy. And I like other games like mahjong and where you
Yes.
actually have to like kind of read the table.
You have to be in your opponent's head to use this card well.
Yes, exactly. And you have to know, okay, so I've been seeing these cards. So this probably would be a card I would sideboard. And
Yes.
then like as I played the first match, then I would probably put it back in. Because it's like, I know this
It's a card that gets better over time as you play an opponent.
right. Because you start to know like their mana curve and what spells they have. And so it's like, oh, this is their shtick. I know that they're going to have a bunch of sorceries instants or even, creatures that are going
Right.
to be in this mana cost. So it becomes a numbers game. And like,
You know where the meat of their curve is eventually.
exactly. And so it's probably really funny to hear me talk about that.
Yes, definitely.
You're like, oh, where did this come from? But
I know where this comes from. I've played Seven Wonders with you.
Okay,
This is your favorite shit on the world.
Exactly. So it's like that other aspect of my play style where it's like, well, if I can't get to you this way, I'm going to figure out, read your hand, read your deck essentially, and then I'm going to do this. But let's talk about the artwork, because like the artwork
Yes, please.
on top of this mechanic is fantastic.
Sick.
It's so good. So again, the background, there's no really distinct background. The color scheme is very muted. It's
Yes.
mostly like muddy-ish browns, like some green, a little bit of warm. It's got a warm hue to it.
hmm
And there is a circular stone pedestal, essentially short, that has a sword that's been covered in vines, and there's mushrooms going around it. There's a skull in between the skull and the sword, and the sword's in the foreground. So there's a sword, then you have this dark black chalice, and
Yes.
then the skull behind it. And then as you look up into the top of the chalice, it's a void. A
Yeah.
black void in the middle, and then bright light, and then it's all this really pretty pastel-y
Like a cosmic void.
Yes, exactly. And so it's like it's just so nice to look at. It's got a circle for you there, Kenny.
Yes, I know. I love it.
And again, it tells me it's one of those pieces of art where you're like, okay, there's a story here. Like,
Yeah.
who came across this? Did they try to drink from it? And
What happens if you do try to drink from it?
exactly. And so I don't know if it really conveys so much what the card does, but I mean, the name of it, I mean, obviously it's a
It's
chalice.
just so evocative.
Yeah. It's so pretty. And again, it's very light and soft, and I love it. It's really pretty.
Light and soft, but also like very metal at the same time.
Yes.
My comment to you when you first were pitching this as your answer to the question of your favorite card, like as far as art goes, was that this would go perfectly in my Dungeon World campaign, which is
Yes.
all about this plane worships the stars as deities, and this is exactly the kind of thing that would exist somewhere in the world. Like, I completely agree, the evocative nature, where it's like, I see it and I also immediately want to tell a story about this thing.
Right.
It's not a legendary artifact, but it feels legendary just looking at this thing. This is the end of a campaign when you find this thing.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So it's so funny because I love both of those art a lot, and I love both of those mechanics a lot, but like I said, nostalgia won out for me here. And so I end up going with an Omar card.
Okay.
And you don't know it. I didn't write it down in the notes.
No, you did not.
It's Tarfire. So you can look
Okay.
it up.
I'm looking at it right now.
Okay, you are?
Yep.
It is a 1. I knew it. So it's a. It is a 1 red mana cost instant
Yes.
goblin, and it is Tarfire. I can't even say it right now because I'm laughing so hard.
Tarfire.
Tarfire. It's like Cracker Barrel for me. I can't
Cracker
say
Barrel.
this. Cracker Barrel. God damn it. Tarfire.
Card name.
Yes, deals 2 damage to target creature or player.
It's a shock.
Yes. But I like the flavor text too, where it's like,
Yes, that's what I was laughing about.
Okay, good. After Auntie brushed the soot from her eye, she discovered something wonderful. The fire had turned the goat into something that smelled delicious. A tale of Auntie Grub. I love goblins. And I
Yes.
love fairy tale stuff. And like I said earlier, Omar's artwork is and he works primarily in watercolor. I actually got to meet him at Gen Con.
Did you really?
Yes. So after Lauren came out, he's been at Gen Cons like all the time because he usually is in the artist alley. But I actually got to sit on a panel with him and watch him paint in real life. So I got to watch him paint in front of me and got to talk to him about art and stuff. It was really cool. And I have
What did he paint?
Just some, because he does other stuff too for his own stuff. And so he just painted.
Clearly he doesn't do a lot of Magic the Gathering.
No.
He did this one set.
I think he was painting like some sort of like satyr, goat man, just his face. Cool. But anyway, so he probably works in watercolor, and I really like so to describe this card, it's this goblin who's like twisting himself, arcing.
He's so contorted.
I know, he's so contorted.
Also, is his dick hanging out? What is happening there?
No, it's like a boar's head on his like it's as like a
He has a face for a dick.
No, it's like what's a Tarzan? What does Tarzan wear? What are those things called? Butt flaps?
Underwear?
I don't know. God, whatever. So anyway, he's
a loincloth, Amber.
Thank you. So it's a loincloth made of looks like a pig's head.
It looks like It looks like his face.
Whatever. Let me describe.
It's a goblin with a goblin for a dick. Okay, continue.
So as he's in this contorted motion as he's hurling this basically giant, huge ball of flaming tar.
Yes.
And I love that if you look closer, it's like his headpiece has like these frogs stuck on spikes on his head, and like he's just got gross stuff in his head. And
I did not even notice that.
You didn't notice it? Oh, it's so funny. It's so the background again is not. There's not really a defined background. He's standing.
It's muted.
Yeah, it's muted. It's soft. Yeah. But anyway, I picked it because it was like my first introduction to Magic, and like what really is one of those cards that really got me started down like the red path. And I loved goblins, and I love Omar's art, and it's very, I love it. That's
it really does combine everything that you love, essentially. It's soft and also a fireball that will kill you.
Yes, and it's a goblin. It's silly looking.
We didn't mention that, but this is we said it deals 2 damage to any target, and that it's a goblin, but it's not a goblin creature.
No.
Lorwyn had this mechanic of tribal instance and
Yes.
tribal sorceries and tribal enchantments where things that were not creatures could have creature types.
Yes. It was pretty
Which was useful because it's like, if you have something that lets you search for goblin cards,
Yep.
you can search for this card.
Yep. Loved it.
Which is really cool.
It's cool. Kithkin was another one, and there were the giants and stuff like that.
I really liked Kithkin.
What?
Elementals in Lorwyn were a big thing. I loved Ashling from Lorwyn.
I really liked Lorwyn is just...
It was cool. It was really cool.
Yeah. The fairy cards were cool.
They were cool, but they were oppressive. That reminds me, we talked in the previous episode about favorite cards, and another card from Lorwyn that I considered that was in the running for me was Cryptic Command. Do you remember Cryptic Command?
No.
You won't like this card, I don't think.
I probably won't. It's already... I can see it's very blue. Okay.
A lot of blue mana symbols on this card.
Yeah.
It's 1 blue, blue, blue. It's an instant. You can choose 2 from the following modes. Counter target spell. Return target permanent to its owner's hand. Tap all creatures your opponents control. Draw a card.
For 4 mana, you can choose 2. That's disgusting.
The most common mode was counter a spell, draw a card.
Yeah.
And then followed by something like tap all creatures your opponents control, then draw a card.
Yeah.
If you wanted to stop yourself from being killed. This was in like the blue black fairies deck. I was not playing at that time. I played once or twice with somebody I knew in college, and he had like a legit optimized standard fairies deck, and even as a blue player, it made me want to die.
Oh man, remember Merfolk?
No. I feel like, but the thing is, like Merfolk in Legacy and whatnot, I think you would like, because they're really like, it's a blue deck, but it's just about bashing people in the face.
Yeah.
As far as blue decks go, I mentioned in our previous episode as well that the cube is my favorite way to play Magic, and currently my favorite format to draft is an aggressive blue deck that has like Master of Waves and Shore Crasher Elemental and Phantasmal Image and every aggressive blue card I can get my hands on. I feel like you should be proud of me.
I'm not.
Why not? I'm aggressive like you.
But in the wrong way?
How so?
I mean...
Go on.
Shut up! Tarfire!
Tarfire.
Tarfire.
I admit I definitely did not see that one coming. That's a good answer. That's a really good answer. But you didn't see mine coming either.
Well, it's because you don't talk about anything.
Yeah. I'm shy. I'm shy.
Oh boy.
This is a trap. We walked into the trap of talking about art and Magic the Gathering.
I know.
And we've talked about it for the entire episode.
I know.
We'll have a lot more episodes where we talk about art, I imagine.
Pretty sure. Especially as new cards come out.
Oof. Yummy. More Seb McCannon art.
Oof.
Yes, please.
Remember that Kickstarter that was missed?
I wanted to get you a playmat.
God damn it.
I found out about it too late.
Yeah, I did too.
I've been looking on eBay too. I wanted to get it for you as a gift because I'm a nice person.
Wow.
What have you ever gotten me?
Podcast.
Literally nothing.
Literally, I don't give you anything.
No.
What you deserve for being evil.
You're a red mage.
Okay.
It's to be expected.
Good.
Speaking of red mage, this is red mage blue mage. Hey!
Oh my god, I hate this.
You can email us at redmagebluemage at geekperspective.
What is this voice?
It's my radio voice.
Oh, I hate it. Well,
legit though, you can email us at redmagebluemage at geekspective.com. You can find us on Twitter at redbluemtg. You can find me, Kenny, the Blue Mage, at Wolfmere.
On where?
And you can find Amber at Rocket Orca.
Wait, we're doing this now? I'm going to slow to the pickup. You can be me. No. Go ahead. Be me. Do it.
Hi, I'm Amber. You can find me at Rocket Orca.
Wow. Spot on.
I like lightning bolts and not thinking about my cards.
I'm not coming back for a third episode.
That's the end of the turn for us. I'll be representing Counterspell. And I've got the bolt. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.